Christopher Lee Rios, better known by his stage name Big Pun, was an American rapper and actor. Big Pun emerged from the underground hip-hop scene in the Bronx borough of New York City, in the late 1990s. He first appeared on albums from the Beatnuts, on the track Off the Books in 1997, and on Fat Joe's second album Jealous One's Envy in 1995, prior to signing to Loud Records as a solo artist. Pun's lyrics are notable for technical efficiency, having minimal pauses to take a breath, heavy use of alliteration as well as internal and multi-syllabic rhyming schemes. About.com ranked him number 25 on its list of the 50 greatest MCs of our time, while MTV2 ranked him number 11 on its list of the 22 greatest MCs. In 2012, The Source ranked him number 19 on their list of the top 50 lyricists of all time. An article from the Rolling Stones magazine states, Pun embodied all of the traits of a master wordsmith: melody, a unique flow, an unforgettable voice, humor, and lyrics that made other MCs go back to their black-and-white composition notebooks. Biography. Early life. Rios was born on November 10, 1971 in the Bronx, New York City, United States, to parents of Puerto Rican descent. He grew up in the South Bronx neighborhood of the city. At the age of 5, Rios broke his leg while playing in a park, which would later lead to a large settlement from the city. By all accounts from Pun's family, his early years were very difficult, including witnessing his mother's drug abuse and his father's death. According to his grandmother, Pun would become angry and self-destructive, punching holes in the walls of his family's apartment. Rios dropped out of high school and for some time was homeless, staying in abandoned buildings. Music career. Sometime during the 1990s, he began to write rap lyrics, forming the Full Eclipse crew with Triple Cease and Cuban Link, who was at the time named Lyrical Assassin. At this point Big Pun was operating under the alias Big Moon DAWG. Rios met fellow Puerto Rican and Bronx rapper Fat Joe in 1995 and made his commercial debut on Joe's second album, Jealous One's Envy, in addition to appearing on a B-side to Joe's Envy single, Firewater. Later, I'm Not a Player was supported by a significant advertising campaign and became an underground hit. Capital Punishment. In 1997, producer Nobody's production partner Sean C. took advantage of his new role as A&R at Loud Records to play Nobody's tracks to Big Pun. Suitably impressed, the rapper hired Nobody to remix I'm Not a Player. The remixed song, featuring Joe and titled Still Not a Player, became Big Pun's first major mainstream hit and major breakthrough for Nobody. The full-length debut Capital Punishment followed in 1998, and became the first album by a solo Latino rapper to go platinum, peaking at number 5 on the Billboard 200. Capital Punishment was also nominated for a Grammy. Pun's second album Year Baby, although not as successful as his first, also went platinum, producing 2 solid hits in It's So Hard and 100%. Big Pun became a member of Terror Squad, a New York-based group of rappers founded by Fat Joe, with most of the roster supplied by the now-defunct Full Eclipse crew, who released their debut album The Album in 1999. The album didn't fare well commercially, but it was well received critically, and the album was meant to start the foundation for all other Terror Squad members to release their solo projects. Death. Excluding his adolescence, Big Pun struggled with a weight problem for most of his life. His weight fluctuated in the early 1990s between obese and morbidly obese. Big Pun partook in a weight loss program in North Carolina in which he lost 80 pounds, but he eventually quit the program before completing it, returning to New York and gaining back the weight he had lost. On February 7, 2000, Big Pun suffered a fatal heart attack and respiratory failure while temporarily staying with family at a Crowne Plaza hotel in White Plains, New York, during a home renovation. Pun was pronounced dead at the hospital after paramedics could not revive him. Big Pun was at his highest weight at the time of his death, 698 pounds. He was cremated a few days later. Big Pun is survived by his wife, Liza, and their 3 children, Amanda, Vanessa, and Christopher. His son Christopher started rapping in 2012. Having initially used the name, Baby Pun, He made the change to Chris Rivers in order to create an individual identity for himself as an artist. Posthumous works. His second album, Year Baby, completed before his death, was issued as scheduled in April 2000. It peaked at number 3 on the Billboard charts and earned gold record status within 3 months of its release. A posthumous compilation album, Endangered Species, was released in April 2001. Endangered Species collected some of Pun's greatest hits, previously unreleased material, numerous guest appearances, and remixed greatest verses. As with his other albums, it also peaked in the top 10 of the Billboard 200, reaching number 7, but didn't sell as much as the previous Pun albums had. Big Punisher was featured with Fat Joe on duets, The Final Chapter, an album of tracks featuring the Notorious B.I.G., also deceased. The track Get Your Grind On begins with a Big Pun radio interview in which he said he would perform a duet with Biggie at the Gates of Heaven. Punisher was also featured on a track from the revived Terror Squad's second album, True Story, on the track Bring 'Em Back with Big L. On May 2, 2001, a Bronx City Council committee stalled plans to rename a small portion of Rogers Place in honor of Big Pun because of distaste over Big Pun's lyrics, which according to the New York Times include profanity and references to violence and drug dealing. Sony Music Entertainment has been considering releasing a second posthumous album featuring unreleased material, but the project is being delayed by Sony. Lee Rios also held an auction in 2005 for her deceased husband's Terror Squad medallion, citing financial difficulties in the wake of Pun's death, and again claiming to have not received any royalty checks for Pun's posthumous album sales. Big Pun, The Legacy documentary, a tribute documentary. Big Pun, The Legacy was released on September 15, 2009. The film contains multiple interviews with artists, actors, close friends and others whose lives were touched by Big Pun, as well as rare exclusive performances and scene interviews with Big Pun himself. The film also features appearances by Bone Thugs-n-Harmony, Snoop Dogg, DMX, Method Man, U God, Lee Rios, XZIBIT, Cuban Link, Swizz Beatz, DJ Scribble, Chino XL, Redman, Papoose, Sticky Fingers, Ghostface Killer, Raekwon, Killer Mike and many more. The film was directed by Vlad Yudin, and is distributed through Vivendi Universal, and the soundtrack is released through Legacy Recordings Columbia Records. Discography. Albums, singles, as featured performer, music videos, filmography, Muesha, Himself, Thicker Than Water, Punny, Urban Menace, Crow, White Boys, Don Flip Crew, Borough as Bond, Himself, Still Not a Player, Himself, Big Pun Live, Himself, Big Pun, The Legacy, Himself, References. External links, Big Pun at the Internet Movie Database, Big Pun at Find a Grave, XXL, Capital Punishment Tribute. Lee Rios talks about her husband's legacy in 2010 interview.